It's a day of mixed feelings for Canadian soccer fans. A loss to Switzerland means no top of the group finish, but the team did enough to move on to the knockout stage for the very first time in the men's program. Another historic achievement for Les Rouges, and we're going to break it all down right here on Bet365 for the win. Welcome inside our One Soccer studio. Andy Petrillo, Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson with you. A 2-1 loss to Switzerland. We knew this was going to be the toughest game for Canada in the group. Battle for top spot on the line. Canadians needed a draw or a win, but it ended up being a 2-1 loss. Promise David coming on in as a substitute gentleman, getting the lone goal for Canada. How do you view this result for the team who finishes second, and we'll move on?
Incredibly disappointing, Andy. That's the prevailing sentiment, and it should be. It was there to be had. This team had to go on and find a way to at least come up with a draw. Not a win, but a draw to go on and win the group. I thought the performance was nervous. I didn't think it was very good for the first 65 minutes or so. They went down 2-0. Substitutions were made. A little bit too little too late in order to come away with the result. It's just not what you wanted to see from Canada at this point. Some of the comments around the game by Jesse Marsh were perplexing, to say the least. Too many mistakes. When you step up to a level like that, it's attention to detail that is the most important. And I think that there were so many times in this game, they either picked the wrong pass, had heavy touch, defenders were dragged out of positions. It went from the goalkeeper all the way up top to the number 9. Not a very good performance whatsoever. And now the ramifications are serious. They have to move out of Vancouver, a place where they called home, a place where off the field it was creating a lot of noise and excitement around this team and what they could potentially do. They're on short rest for a team where a lot of players aren't match fit. They have to go to Los Angeles on Sunday, play a difficult opponent, and it was all in their hands today. And I just don't think that their performance today was anywhere good enough for a team that expects to make noise and build momentum and have a level of success in a tournament like this.
How I feel about today, it was a missed opportunity. Absolutely. You go into this match thinking Switzerland obviously is a good side, tactically they're disciplined, but it's there for the taking. Like the old Canada before the match, the fact that you're in Vancouver, BC, you feel comfortable, you can go and take it to this team and stay in it. And for a large part of the match, the first half, I know it wasn't great in terms of maybe getting into the box or chances scored because it was 0-0, but you're thinking the way that you come out in the second half and just lay an egg for 10, 15 minutes and don't show up, that's not good enough from this team, because we've passed that point where they can go and be locked in for 90 minutes. But I also think, when I think about it deeply, this was a Jesse Marsh performance. And what I mean by that, a spirited Canada team, a team that loves chaos and thrives in it, a team that's going to be on the front foot and high tempo and throw bodies forward, but still struggle to score goals and are very open defensively and have like some tactical deficiencies, which the Swiss exploited today. The Mbolo chance in the first half, that was by design. They knew how to play. Hey, when Canada go and press a little bit here and you see that Johnson or Larea or the back four is spread, we're going to try to slip a ball through. And they got in a few times today. Lucky that they only scored 2. But if you think about how the Swiss attacked and exploited Canada's deficiency, they were really good at it today.
Canada now 2-5-6 against top 30 nations, and the 2 wins have both come against the United States. If you want to be considered among the best, you need to be able to show it in games like this. I just felt like Switzerland were comfortable. They weren't great.
Yeah.
They were just comfortable throughout. And we can applaud Canada's effort late in the game, and that requisite energy was needed from minute 1, not minute 70. But beyond that, I felt like Switzerland kind of played into Canada's hands at that point.
Yeah.
Just they were comfortable in everything that they were doing. I felt like Switzerland really didn't have to get out of second gear, and the better team won the match.
Quickly, I'll just say this, 10 seconds. Literally, when you look at the Swiss side and you're going to look at the top 20, they're saying if you can hang on with Canada, you'll find a moment. That's what I feel like. I haven't heard anything, but watching every game closely and intimately, that's what I feel like these top teams are saying. Look, if it's 0-0, they're still going to play the same way. If it's just hang on, and you're going to have that moment. And what I want to see moving forward, which we only have 4 days now, is Canada being more compact, more resound in those moments so they can hang on and actually take it to teams in big games.
And also, for the first time in this tournament, the Canadians will not be playing on Canadian soil, because finishing in second, as Wheeler just said, moving on over to the United States. So second place is where they finish. And it's funny how expectations change mid-tournament, right? Because I know a lot of us were saying 4 points. Kind of maybe that's the realistic expectation of the team. Then it became apparent that they could win the group. So obviously there's a little bit of disappointment there, but they are moving on. What about those emotions, and how is the team feeling after this one as we bring in Christian Jack, who's in Vancouver, powered by General Mills? How would you assess the overall emotions after this match?
Yeah, a day of very different contrasting emotions. You know, ultimately, when I got to speak to a lot of the players after the game, there was almost the one side of it where it felt very raw and they were disappointed in their performance. You know, it has to be said, significantly outplayed by a team that just had better players, more powerful, far superior, and you could sense that they played a lot longer under their coach as well, and just, I think, tournament savvy. So not a surprise for me, the way that Switzerland took it to Canada and were dominant in certain areas. But also an element of reflection from the Canadian players, where they look back and know that now they're packing their bags, they're heading south, and no matter where it takes them and how long they go, their journey here at home playing against, obviously, these opponents in front of their home crowd is over. That's it now. The 3 games are done. So there was a reflective phase about some of their comments. There was obviously a disappointment phase and also a look-ahead phase, looking ahead to a massive opportunity. Has to be said, they've still created history making the last 32. So whenever I spoke to the players, that was kind of their mood. Here's the captain of today. Here's Jonathan David.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to stay in Vancouver, obviously, for the home crowd, but we didn't do it today. So on to the next. It's been amazing, you know. When we play at home, sometimes, you know, when the away team has more fans than us, or it's 50-50, but now it was nice to have, you know, a pro-Canada crowd that pushed us on every game, so it was nice.
And you played a lot of games in the States. How confident are you to go and try and win this knockout game in LA?
I mean, confidence is always high. I mean, you know, we're playing a tough team, but we'll be ready.
They will be ready, and as I said, they have played a lot of games. Remember, Jonathan David, you know, has played over 80 caps now, and, you know, the majority of those times, 70% of those games have been outside of Canada. This has been a euphoric experience playing here for these players. Now they get to go in what is likely a hostile environment, Andy, and see whether they can continue to create history.
I know that the prevailing sentiment, especially among very competitive athletes, is the job is not done yet. But as we've been saying off the top, this is still a historic moment for the men's program. So are they going to allow themselves some time to celebrate this achievement?
Well, I don't know if they're going to celebrate it. They will be again tomorrow for a training session that will cover them, and I think the focus will be going forward. But you're right, it was on the lips of some of the players afterwards when we spoke to them, including Alistair Johnston.
Canada soccer, we're into the knockout stage of a World Cup, and I'm not really sure. Again, it's been kind of a strange vibe already from some of the questions I've got. Of course, we'd have loved to top the group, but we're into the knockout stage. This is the bare minimum of what we wanted, and that goes to show where we're at as a program. We're doing knockouts. Anything can happen. Hopefully, as much of that crowd as possible will travel down with us and be able to play off their energy and see what we can do. But no, we're in a great place. We're in a great place.
So Alistair Johnston says they're in a great place. The place that they're in, I actually feel sorry for them a little bit, and bear with me when I explain why. I don't think FIFA got this right. You know, there's 3 countries that are co-hosting this World Cup. The United States get to play every single game at home, and we know why. That's fine. The teams that would have finished second in the Mexico group and the team that finished second in the Canada group have to play in the U.S. There's other games that are happening in the round of 32 that are happening in this country. And this could easily have been avoided. And people would say, okay, I'm playing Monday morning quarterback. I've been talking about this a long time to FIFA and Canada Soccer about this exact scenario. If you are a co-host and you are having 2 games in the last 32, it could have easily been organized where Canada may have had to go to Toronto, if it wasn't Vancouver, to stay here. And then we would not have to talk about these contrasting emotions of them qualifying for a World Cup last 32, but letting it go of that home advantage. You're either a co-host or you're not. No one was expecting them to have massive knockout games in the quarters, semifinals, and final. That is a financial reason, and we know the Goliaths to the south and what they have. But I think FIFA got this wrong.
You're just making me feel nostalgic for the time that we just had the one country hosting this big tournament. What happened to Stefan Eustachio? A lot of people woke up this morning to some very surprising news that he wasn't starting. We know he came on as a sub, but what's the latest on him?
Really interesting story developing here. Before I give you my take on it, I spoke to him after the game and asked him whether he was available to start from 90 minutes. Here's that when I asked him about that, his reaction. Let's talk about that once we've heard from Steph.
Could you have gone 90 minutes?
If I could have gone, I would. To be honest, I think we did a solid game when it comes to numbers. I think in the halftime, in terms of duels, second balls, and all that, we were very tight with them. Obviously, we felt that in some moments of the game of the first half, the momentum was for Swiss, but at the same time, we defended well. LA is going to be very tough for us, but at the same time, we feel confident that we're going to get the win.
So for me, it was a day where you've got to have all your bullets. A place against, and to win the last game, the group, sorry, to play against a team like that, you've got to have all your bullets. And Bombito was a huge loss. We could talk about the issues defensively. Luc Dufourgeau said after the game it was a real challenge. And this is a young man that hasn't played against top players like Breel Ambrolo very often, by the way. That was a real difficult challenge for him, and I thought he did well. But they didn't have Bombito. We'll get to Davies later. They didn't have Davies, which is obviously now a decoy. He walked through the mix zone holding his phone and didn't want to speak to anybody afterwards. And now the question, by the way, about Alphonso Davies is right to be had about why he's even in the squad. Because with 10 minutes to go in a game when you're 2-1 down to keep home field advantage and you put Jacob Schaffelberg on, I don't know why, we can even expect now to even see him in this tournament. Jesse Marsh said he hopes he'll be ready for the next game. So yet we have to start asking whether he even should be here. So for me, and with Eustachio, it was a massive loss. Some of the players said after the game, not quite sure we didn't start well enough or why we didn't start well enough. For me, he's the tempo setter. He starts games really well. He drives them from midfield. He missed training on Sunday. We were told it was probably a maintenance day, even though Canada Soccer gave us nothing official. We didn't get to watch training properly on Monday, but he jogged around. And then Jesse Marsh perplexingly said at the start of the broadcast that it was not an injury. But he hasn't been training all week, properly. So I heard it's a muscle strain. He said to us there that he couldn't go 90 minutes. That's disappointing, and I think he was a huge loss. And now with the short turnaround, more questions around Eustachio's availability will be asked. And let's be honest, if Eustachio can't start the game in the round of 32, Canada's chances go lower and lower.
100% they do. Well, as we bid farewell to the group stage and you look at the 3 games for Canada here, how would you summarize their performance?
Honestly, guys, it's been a joy. It's been a blessing to be there, to see so many people, ex-players, the national team of 1986, saw Tommy Wilden Jr. in the stadium today just beaming, Martin Nash. Who's who of Canadian football have been to these games the last 3 games, and it's beyond our wildest dreams. This was never supposed to happen, to have a men's World Cup here in Canada. It will continue, and other countries will play here, and I know Canadians will go out to support them, but we'll forever have those 3 big moments in those 2 cities, and I know that they'll stand with these players forever. That's why they wanted them more. But it's been magic. It's been really special, and long may it continue here at the FIFA World Cup in 2026.
All right, great stuff. Thanks so much. That's Christian Jack in Vancouver. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for, and KJ had alluded to it there, and that is Jesse Marsh admitting that Alphonso Davies saying that he was going to get minutes today, that was a decoy, and that he will in fact be ready in 4 days. So I have 2 questions. For whom is he the decoy? And also, do you now trust that he'll be ready in 4 days, Jordan?
I'll say this quickly. I know this as a former player, albeit I never played at a World Cup, but one thing I appreciate about managers is clear, open communication. Don't tell me that I'm going to be ready to go and play, but then later on say that it's a decoy. Come to me, be a man, just say, look, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. Doesn't mean that you have to blast it everywhere. Maybe Jesse Marsh has done that. But by the look on Alphonso Davies' face, the fact that he's walking off as well, it doesn't feel like there's been clear communication. We applauded Canada Soccer, Jesse Marsh, the fact that they said, look, this is what happened, this is what is going on with Alphonso Davies. He's not playing the first game. Then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened in the middle of the night, but everyone's like, oh, wait, we shouldn't let this out to the world. We should maybe keep this ace card, who's Alphonso Davies, and be like, maybe he can go and miraculously play on a hamstring that we knew wasn't ready. Then it was the second game against, you're going to go and tease against Qatar. Maybe he's going to be ready on the bench. We know he wasn't prepared to play. Then again today, last night on the presser saying he is good to go. He's going to see minutes. Just to bring in another left back. Jacob Schaffelberg doesn't play left back. He can play left back. But who is the left back that has been decorated and Jesse Marsh has talked about since the beginning of inheriting this program? AD19, Alphonso Davies. And he said, nah, bruh, sit there with your tracksuit. I said to everyone in the world that you will play tomorrow, but I'm not going to bench you. If I'm Alphonso Davies, I'm just hurt. Not the fact that I'm injured, but the fact that the miscommunication and the fact that you're seeing your brothers go out and play and you couldn't be a part of it, but the carrot was dangled like this in front of your face, like you could go and play. Again, I could be wrong because he could be telling Alphonso Davies something different in his ear, but what we know about the situation, I'm gutted for Alphonso Davies, but also this team based on that with Jesse Marsh.
I think the situation is confusing and shameful. You asked me if I trust Jesse Marsh? No. Like, I think that there's been a lot of mistruths or the truth not being told throughout this entire situation and the situations pertaining to other players as well. Davies isn't the only one, but he's the biggest name. He's the face of Canadian soccer. And if I'm Davies right now, there's no chance I'm happy. We all know the history. What happened when he tore his ACL the first time? What happened between his agent and Bayern Munich? Now it seems like this Alphonso Davies story is being dragged along. You said it. He went in the Sid Seixeiro show, told his truth, said he wasn't going to play. I was hearing that he wasn't going to play throughout the group stage, but for whatever reason, this story is being strung along this way, which I don't think serves anyone's purpose. Who's he playing games with? I have no clue. I'm going to say himself right now, because opposing managers are going to plan for what they see on the field, not the what-ifs and maybes. Alphonso Davies hasn't played since May 6th. He's dealt with recurring injuries. Now he's caught up in us talking about in the country, not just us, the country expecting that he's going to come on and play in a decisive match against Switzerland. Why is he using that as a decoy? And why post-match on the field in conversation with Matthew Shinetti, he says, yeah, he's going to be ready in 4 days, only to then go admit a few minutes later in his press conference that he was never going to play today anyways. What's the difference between today and 4 days from now? I think it's very unlikely. I'm going to say he's not going to play next game. Like, why would you put Alphonso in that situation? It's just complete mismanagement. It's communications 101. And maybe I'm old school with this. Do not lie to the media, because the media are the advocates. They're the ones that are getting the messaging to send to the fans. The millions of people, not just hardcore soccer fans, the millions of people across this country that is falling in love with this team. Jesse keeps on saying he wants to grow the game in this country and take it to a better place. How about just telling the truth when it comes to the biggest, most popular, most famous Canadian soccer player right now? To me, it's a misstep that they didn't have to get wrong. Basic communication could have made this a non-issue. Now all of a sudden it's a story, and for me, trust has been broken. Like, you just do not go out of your way to avoid telling the truth in a manner like this, especially considering the recent history when it comes to your captain, Alphonso Davies. Well, it's not fair to Alphonso.
And that's why I asked, for whom is he a decoy? Because, to your point, a lot of fans were excited with his messaging yesterday that he was going to come in. Then when the final substitution was made, and it wasn't Alphonso Davies, I had a lot of people I know who are fans of this team texting me going, okay, so that's it?
He didn't even warm up.
Yeah, they're like, that's it? He's not coming out? So who are you tricking? Your fan base? Because let me ask you this. If you're Switzerland, are you sitting there going, ooh, we got to completely change our game plan now if Alphonso Davies can possibly come in? I think all you're doing is messing around with the emotions of your fan base.
Yeah, you're creating more stories, negative ones at that, and needed. I think everyone going to this game, the non-footy fans as well, have asked me, probably Wheels, I'm sure you've gotten the same question.
You were at the watch party.
100%. Will Alphonso Davies play?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the situation, based on the information that we know, all we can do is trust the manager. We're not at training. KJ's there, but I don't think he's looking at training and able to see Alphonso Davies go to work. Like, we don't know. All we're going to do is trust.
And there's also only so much access.
There's only so much you can see, right? So many minutes of training. All we're going to do is trust the manager. That's it. So I just think I agree with Wheels, and I already said it to start it off. The miscommunication just created confusion between us. Because you could focus on certain aspects of this team, but we were worrying about Alphonso Davies. Is he ready? Is Jesse Marsh telling the truth? How much would you play him? All these questions that could have easily just been nullified if he was honest and transparent and open about it.
I'll just say this. We spoke on yesterday's show whether Jesse Marsh is the face of the Canadian, the Canadian team. Because there's been a lot of pushback worldwide, because a lot of people don't like the way that Jesse Marsh conducts himself at times. And it's because of stuff like this. And I was watching the ITV broadcast, like Patrick Vieira, Ian Wright, Duncan Ferguson, like they're sitting there and they heard Jesse Marsh's post-match comments and they're all shaking their heads to the point where Ian Wright said, I'm not trying to kill the guy, but this is why the sentiment is what it is when it comes to Jesse Marsh, because all of these things he says comes across as being performative. That's not me saying that. That is Ian Wright, a legend of the game that knows the game inside and out. He comes out post-match and says that his biggest regret is he didn't go to 5 at the back coming out of halftime, and he wishes that he did that. We have never seen Canada under Jesse Marsh play 5 at the back.
That's how you play to close out a game.
Never
if you're
once.
winning.
But why is he saying that? Like
it's so misguided.
And that's what's unfortunate, because when we hear things in a press conference, whether it be about Alfie Jones, like, why is Alfie Jones part of the team? Why isn't Ralph Priso part of the team? Was Ralph Priso really hurt, or just did he want to switch things up? Because Ralph Priso is the most informed center back that Canada had going into this World Cup, but he's not here. So I don't know what the truth is and what the truth isn't right now. And that is a huge problem. And it's not just a problem for me. Again, if we're talking about growing the game in this country and getting everyone on the same page, then let's be on the same page. It's something small that we're asking for. This isn't anything that should be very difficult to achieve.
And that's the domino effect, right? When there's one thing that you've essentially lied about, everyone starts to question everything else that you've said. So now we wait and see if Alphonso Davies will, in fact, be ready in 4 days' time, because that's going to be a very big game for Canada.
His word for it?
Well, that's the question. Do you believe him? When we come back, as you continue to watch Bet365 for the win, we are going to head inside Canada House in Vancouver. Mackenzie Barwell took in the action with former Canada Soccer assistant coach Michael Finley.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
The game isn't over yet, but Gary just got paid with Bet365's early payout when his team went up 2 goals. Now, Gary can't stop celebrating. And honestly, we're not even sure he knows how.
Or forever hold this.
Download the Bet365 app and get paid out early when your team goes up 2 goals.
Here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now?
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
It's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Oh, it was a great crowd inside Canada Soccer House in Vancouver. Our very own Mackenzie Barwell took in the action there alongside Michael Finley. Let's hand it over to her. This is powered by General Mills. Mackenzie.
Thanks, Andy. Well, we are, of course, here in Vancouver, British Columbia, where unfortunately the men's national team will have to depart from following their 2-1 loss against Switzerland in the final match of that group stage. Michael, you and I talked about in our last conversation how much passion this city specifically has for both the team and the sport. A marginal difference today in the scoreline, ultimately just not enough for Canada to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, let's begin with what you just said about the city and the country and the sport. You know, from my perspective, I am a Vancouver person. I am so proud of this city and the country. But most importantly, it is a demonstration of how this game transcends everything. It transcends gender, it transcends language, it transcends economics. It brings people together, and this city knocked it out of the park today. Unbelievable. I'm so proud of it. As it relates to the result, you know, football is about suffering, quite frankly. I've been there on numerous occasions, but it's about suffering. It's about you checking the mirror, and you can see it right there.
Also about celebrating.
Exactly, about celebrating. And the fact remains is it's a result that we're all disappointed in, but it's a result that's not untypical in international football. And we have to deal with that. That is part of our maturing process. It's part of us becoming a stronger nation from a football perspective. So we can't just pile on at this point and go, oh my God, we lost. It's about, okay, how do we rebound from this, and what do we do next?
Well, as we predicted, full house in the stadium, full house here at Canada Soccer House. They will continue on in this tournament. However, one of their priorities and biggest goals was staying in Canada and buying themselves an extra couple days of rest. How big of an impact do you foresee not having those two things making in their tournament?
Yeah, it is an enormous challenge. I mean, the key to international football is being able to put results together in a very short period of time. So regeneration, recovery, and the medical staff becomes so important in this situation. You know, my whole career is built around great medical staffs. And if they can get the players ready to play, you're in a much better position. The challenge right now for them is the shortened days. The travel's not too bad because it's in the same time zone. North-south, you can deal with that pretty well. It's just the shortened days about recovering from such an intense atmosphere and intense challenge. This is the first team that Canada really, I believe, had on the docket where they were going to be challenged. And so there's going to be more recovery from that point of view. So, but then again, multiple teams have done this before, right? So I don't think, again, we should say it's not impossible, because it is. They're still in it.
Yeah, it just sucks, for lack of a better word, not to stay here. This city was absolutely ready to see them again.
100%.
But going back, Michael, to what you said about getting players ready to play in a short amount of time, Alphonso Davies, of course, being one of the biggest topics of conversation. It's been a constant will he, won't he. Just to summarize here, in the pre-match, Jesse Marsh says, okay, he is available for this game against Switzerland. He goes on to say he likely will play him. Today comes, no sign of Alphonso Davies. And in the post-match press conference, Michael, Jesse Marsh admits to basically using him as a decoy. How much are you reading into this situation and Alphonso failing to play a part, or a meaningful role really, in the group stage?
Well, there's a number of different conditions that we're dealing with here. We're dealing with the team condition first and foremost, and the individual. Is he actually ready to play? And this injury that he had, let's not kid ourselves, it's a serious injury, and this is why they're being so careful with him. And I think at the end of the day, you know, you have to look at it in the sense that if he is not ready to actually contribute, they're not going to play him. Now, let's talk about the marketing side of it. You know, Alphonso Davies brings a lot of interest. He brings a lot of discussion, debate, you know, a lot of pictures, a lot of video, and they want to keep it on the front foot that may be potential to play. My personal opinion is I obviously don't think he's ready yet, because I think Jesse, if he saw the opportunity to play him today, he would have played him today, in my opinion. I'm not in the room, but that's my opinion. So it tells me he's just not ready yet.
We're looking at a former manager, okay? Your opinion matters, don't kid yourself. But to your point, Jesse said, I lied, essentially. He wasn't ready, I used him as a decoy. I want to get your opinion on what was said in that post-match huddle. I was giggling, actually, at Promise David, who said in his post-match interview that Jesse basically said, wake up, we were too sluggish, we gave Switzerland too much time on the ball, but, you know, if you could put your manager cap back on for a second, what else do you think was said, and how do you think Jesse will approach these next couple days?
Well, Well, let's put it this way. There's twofold. Are you talking about the media scrum in the middle of the field and this performative idea that we've got to get some pictures for the press, or are you talking about what he's going to tell you in the dressing room? And from my perspective, he's going to go into the dressing room and he's going to sit down with them and say, look, we're in the final 32 of the World Cup. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to understand that this team is still in its infancy. Even though it went to a World Cup in Qatar and it did very well, these types of situations, programs, opportunities don't come overnight. This is a part of the process, and we can't look at this team right now and say they lost today and we all start, you know, pulling our hair out. They have to go back, evaluate the performance. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? How are we going to change that? Were my selections right? Were the performances right? So there's two different scenarios.
Yes, and
here.
I appreciate you pointing that out.
And I think everyone has to understand that he now has to sit down and decide how they're going to take on potentially Korea. We'll say that. That's what we're thinking. But he has to go through that scenario because this is the first team they really played against that was organized, experienced, and what I would say is an international caliber World Cup team that has history. Okay.
Well, it's important we have to ground ourselves, right, and zoom out a little bit because I think as a Canadian and as a member of the media, quite frankly, we get so excited after that 6-1.
Yeah, absolutely.
That 6-0 win against Qatar, and then you think about before this tournament starts, this is probably what we would have predicted. 1-1 against Bosnia, a win against Qatar, and then a marginal loss to Switzerland. So still an equal opportunity to continue on in this tournament.
And that doesn't mean that we can't put, you know, some standards on them and pressure on them. I understand that, and you need that to build the program. But if you were sitting there and told me, look, you can be in the last 32 of the World Cup playing a team like South Korea, would you take it? Yeah, I think I would take it, given where this program is at this moment in time.
Absolutely.
There's a staircase approach to this at international football, and I think if you look at the results that we have had in this World Cup, I'm not sure I'd say I was going to think there was anything different.
Yep,
so
that's what I mean.
let's all not, you know, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and let's look towards that game in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. Would have rathered, of course, it be here in Vancouver, but the Canadian men's national team will continue to progress in this World Cup just in LA.
This is Our House presented by Samsung. So we're going to now, obviously, knowing the result and how things played out against Switzerland, is there anything you would have done differently? How do you just assess the way this game was approached, knowing that they needed a draw or a win?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
We know the plan A that Canada's going to play. There is no plan B. I know Jesse Marsh said at one time that he has a plan from A to double Z. And we argued, what does double Z mean? I think it's 27. You go straight there, but whatever. Anyways, the plan A is we're going to be pressing, we're going to be front-footed, we're going to make sure we make things difficult for the opposition, whoever that might be. You could be 100th in the world, you could be 10th. It doesn't matter. This is how we're going to play. We're going to try to suffocate you. But also, teams know, like the Swiss did today, that when you do that, there's going to be a moment that there's going to be space in that back four, that they press so high that there's space in behind, and good teams exploit that. So in terms of the plan or the things to be questioned, I don't question the game plan. I don't question the spirit. That's Jesse Marsh ball. That's probably for another day where we can break things down. What I question is how this game looked once Eustáquio got on the pitch, once Promise David got on the pitch. And I praised Jesse Marsh in the first match against Bosnia-Herzegovina about his substitutions and how it was masterclass the time that he picked certain players to come on the pitch. I thought it was poor today. If Eustáquio can run 30 minutes and boss the midfield and help because he had courage to play passes forward, he should have came in at halftime. Albeit it could have still been in the same situation, but you would have had your best player, a leader, a vice captain on the pitch to anchor that midfield that I thought was very much needed. And then a Promise David, it felt like when he came on after he scored, it was just the Promise David highlights for attacking. Defenders trying to grab him down, he was flicking on headers, he was scoring a goal, he was a menace. Why didn't you put him on 15 minutes earlier? You know what this match means. I know people, Alistair Johnson will say at the end of the match that, okay, you made it through. But what it could be to go and win and beat Switzerland, then you're puffing out your chest saying, whoever it is we meet in round of 32, we'll handle you, deal with you nicely, and send you back packing. Now we're like, oh, what kind of Canada are we going to see? The momentum has shifted. The wind is not in the sails. That's what I'm questioning today is Jesse Marsh, the approach and the way that you could actually influence the game as a manager. I don't think he took the opportunity to do that today.
Also, this is a 48-team World Cup. It's not a traditional World Cup, and you're the host nation. You're supposed to advance from the knockout round. I don't care if you're Canada. Qatar should have, 3.5 years ago. South Africa, those are the only two countries that haven't advanced. If Jesse Marsh is going to get all the credit when things go well, then when things don't go well, he's going to have to accept some of the blame. The fact that the team didn't start well, didn't look confident in their game plan, because Switzerland was welcoming the pressure, but they knew that they could play through it. Yeah. And they're really effective when they were bypassing the midfield and playing the ball forward and just cutting out that part of the field. The center backs, just for me, Cornelius at this level just isn't quite up to standard. And you have a 20-year-old, relatively inexperienced Luke DeFugeral that are trying to deal with Briel and Bolo. I thought that they made mistakes on both of the goals. The second goal was an unmitigated nightmare from a number of different levels. Both center backs are positioning their judgment, and it went straight through the goalkeeper, Maxime Crepeau, as well. I do feel the substitutions came way too late. Canada was far too slow to react. And Jesse Marsh brought it up post-match. This whole idea was thinking about playing 5 at the back. This is my criticism heading into this tournament, is that Jesse Marsh never experimented playing 5 at the back at all. So we can say that after the fact, but it doesn't seem the case that this team would have been prepared to play that way against a really good, some good competition like Switzerland. Because I do actually think in a game like this, where all you need to do is preserve a result, they might have been in a much better position to play 3 at the back. Yeah. You could maybe hide some of the weaknesses that you have at the center back position, the fact that Bombito's not fully fit, the fact that Alfie Jones can't play. You could have played 3 at the back in order to solidify things, understanding that it would have been Switzerland that would have had to attack you in order to find the goals. Yeah. Also, sorry, just lastly, whenever a team comes out and concedes a goal like a minute into the second half, you just wonder where their heads are at. What was said at halftime and whether they were prepared to come back out and play. Because a goal like that, soft, to be given up the manner by which it was, these are all areas where the approach just needs to be much, much better. I'll say this. His predecessor, John Herdman, there was an attention to detail. Every detail that they go through, every box was ticked. I mean, tactically, sometimes they weren't up to snuff, and the players were much younger at that time, Andy. Now these are players in their prime playing at a high level. I just feel like the attention to detail isn't quite there with this team the way it was before.
Every World Cup, the last one I thought about as well, when Canada played Croatia and there was a 2-man midfield, I said, why didn't we play with 3 that day? And I think about it 4 years later, I'm still thinking about it. I can remember situations in the match. I'm like, they have so much time on the ball. And today was a day where you don't need to win. You just need to go away with a result. I'm wondering why I'm seeing David Lair and go press, and then they're playing through, and Jock has time in the midfield to pick his head up and make passes. I'm like, it's okay to go press for 10 minutes, but why didn't we sit back and be a little bit more compact for 20? Why didn't we play with house money a little bit more, as opposed to, let's just go and press, we're Canadian, let's go and do it. I'm like, protect what we have.
That's the concern or the question I think a lot of fans have is even yesterday when Jesse Marsh gave his press conference, he basically admitted, if I come in and tell the guys we're going to play a different way, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. He basically admitted that he's not going to change the way they play. And everyone, because literally it was side by side, like one day after, everyone looked at Ghana and said, look at what they did to England. Yeah. They played a completely different game and just stifled the Brits. But do we have faith that Jesse Marsh can make that switch to do that?
Can I say this?
It's too late.
This is the world that he created. Because for 2 years, there were more than enough games to try different things. Sure. We've talked about David at the 9. We've talked about adding Saliba when it was cold and it was healthy, and Eustachio in the midfield. 4 situations like this. Jesse Marsh has been adamant that he doesn't want to do that, to the point that he's had pundits, people, everyone he talked about, convinced that this is how we're going to play. But in the world of football, it wasn't, I know it's about 4 years retired, but it wasn't so long ago. You have to have a different plan. I've been in certain teams where if I'm playing defensive midfield, I have to drop in between the center backs certain times, or you have to push players on. The plan B, plan C, all of that was needed today, and I don't think Canada executed. And the person that we have to look at is not Jonathan David, it's not Jonathan Osorio, it's not any other Jonathan on the squad. It is Jesse Marsh who is leading the lines. That's the guy that we're going to look at because he's the one saying, nope, Jonathan David is my 10. He's the one who said that. I don't think he's a 10, but he's the one who said it. So now you have to live with that and push players on to try to be better for the future because we got 4 years with him.
I'm glad you brought up Jonathan David because the hat trick was brilliant against Qatar. This was a real tough game, a real challenge for Jonathan David, playing in the position that he is deployed in this Canada team. His touch inside tight quarters when there's 3 Swiss midfielders and 2 center backs right on you, it wasn't very good today. He didn't have an influence on the game. You want your best player on the field to be in the best spot possible in order to have an influence on the game. It's not at that position. But like Jordan's saying, Andy, none of this should surprise us. Jesse's right. There's no turning back now. These are things that should have been worked on in the build-up to this tournament, not midstream. That's why you're 5 at the back post-game. I'm like, what?
Don't be doing that.
I've seen him play 5 at the back in the last 5 minutes.
Reverse.
I was like,
3 Uno reverses. Like,
what's he going to do like on Sunday? Play Jonathan David up as a number 9? Like, it's not going to happen. Like, so this is it. You're going to win by this methodology, and you're going to lose by this methodology. And we could all sit here and question whether it's the right thing. There's people watching out there that advocate for this. They'll swear by this. They agree with Jesse in the way that he's playing. Though we're sitting here, we don't necessarily. There's different horses for different courses. That's what it's about, especially in a World Cup. Teams tinker. Even the best teams. I don't care if you're Spain or France or England. You have to tinker, or you're going to be assessed if you don't come up with the result in moments like this. And today, I can't stress how important it was to stay at home in Vancouver. This was a huge missed opportunity. That's why I think we're emotional right now, because it's about what could have been. And I feel like it's a significant disappointment based upon the way things played out.
All right, World Cup will continue. July 19th is when the final will be played. But you know what? Already the Canadian Premier League will be back in action this Friday. So you can see Pacific and Halifax playing against each other. And there's a look at the other game that will be on Sunday. And then it all really gets going July 1st. And it's been great seeing a lot of fans who have come to Canada for the World Cup making their way to some CPL games that were still being played before the World Cup fully went underway, and the CPL took about a 2-week hiatus. When we return here to Bet365 for the win, we'll be joined by Oliver Platt. Once again, there he is in the middle, jumping up and down during the celebration at the Soccer House in Toronto.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
In Canada, our future stars don't simply show up on the world stage. They are built from the ground up, right here in the heart of our communities.
Oh, lovely through ball there, Isaiah Johnson! Goal for Halifax!
From a childhood dream to the national team.
Jacob Shuffle, good! Yes! He's done it! Canada on top of the footballing world!
We are Canada, driven by Volkswagen.
And for Canada, BMO.
After 20 years of supporting the game, we're actually going to play in one. Let's go! So what do you need? Precision striker, rock solid left back?
We need a coin.
For the coin toss? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I get it. Can I at least flip it? Heads or tails?
I'll do that. We're on TV right now.
Yeah.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
Well, Promise David gave the Canadian fans something to cheer about inside Canada's Soccer House in Toronto, but it would ultimately be a 2-1 loss, as we know, to the Swiss. And who took in this action inside Canada's Soccer House in Toronto? Our very own Oliver Platt. Here he is, powered by General Mills. It looked like it was a great atmosphere in there today. Just your takeaways on the game and what it was like to be able to watch it with all those Canadian fans.
Yeah, really good atmosphere here again, as it has been for every game here at Canada Soccer House, and you'd expect now an even bigger one on Sunday, and it all comes down to Sunday. That's what it feels like. It's been a strange group stage in a way for me, for Canada, because it feels like so much has happened, and yet at the same time it kind of feels like the tournament really starts on Sunday in the round of 32, like the old format with 32 teams. You know, you had the Bosnia result where we want to win, but it's okay, we get a draw and a point that keeps us on the path we want to be on. Then yes, you had to beat Qatar, but I think that was a very straightforward proposition, if we're being honest. And then even today, you know, you don't need to win to get the result that you need to go through as group winners, but even if you lose, you're still going to have a knockout game ahead of you, which is going to be a massive moment for Canada. So it feels like the real kind of must win, and obviously the elimination games start now. And it's a big one for Canada. It's a big one in, I think, the direction of this program. You know, we say a lot of games are the biggest game in the history of the program, and it always seems like another one is about to come along. But I think this one is obviously it. You know, you look at Canada's records in some of these big situations, whether it's the last World Cup, whether it's the Nations League final that they lost, the Nations League semi-final that they lost, even at Copa America, having a fantastic run, but the only team they beat there is Peru. We've been waiting for Canada to win the big game against a quality opponent. And if they're going to make this World Cup the World Cup they want it to be, they've got to do it on Sunday. So just an enormous game ahead now.
It really is enormous. And I mean, this is it, right? You win and you get to stay in the competition. You lose and you go home. And Canada has so many different stories with all these different players and just what it's taken to even get to this point for them. But I feel like this really more so underlying feel-good story in comparison to some of the others maybe not getting the headline. It's just Promise David. Like, once again, this is a guy whose hip and his quad muscles were detached. He was basically told he'd be playing again in August. Last I checked, here we are in June. He's playing and he's scoring goals. Should he have a bigger role moving forward?
Yeah, that probably hasn't been talked about enough. It seems like a medical miracle that he's playing at this World Cup and having the impact that he is. Look, it all depends on where his fitness is at. If you're offering me 30 minutes of Promise David instead of 15 like we got today, I'll take it. If you offer me 45 instead of 30, I'll take it. As much as he can go, I think you've got to go to him right now. He's playing so well off the bench and making such an impact. And I know we don't want to look beyond Sunday yet, but I think there's a bigger conversation here beyond the tournament. Jesse Marsh, in his first 2 years in charge, has built this attack and built this team around Jonathan David. I think after this World Cup and in the longer term going forwards, it's time to maybe change that. And that's not a knock on Jonathan David, who is going to continue to be a vital player and one of the faces of this team. There's no question about that. But I think you were in a very different place 2 years ago with some of the attacking talent and maybe some of the question marks that you had in those positions. Promise David, with what he's doing in club football in Belgium and potentially at a higher level, I think very soon, and some of the other options that have emerged over the past couple of years as well, it's time to diversify this attack. It's time to look at different players in more prominent roles, different shapes, different ways of playing. I think that's going to be a big challenge for Jesse Marsh going forwards, and even at this tournament, can he find ways to get Promise David in the game earlier, in the game more prominently, to continue to tap in what he's producing, because he's been sensational.
We always knew that Canada had to be at their absolute full fittest in order to take on some of the tougher competition here, and obviously it's going to get tougher as they go into the knockout round now, but we know they're not going to be without Kone. We already know that. We know, I mean, I'd be shocked, I think a lot of us would be, if we see Bombito. We've already discussed Jesse Marsh admitting that Alphonso Davies being available today was more of a decoy. I'll believe it when I see it if he actually plays on the weekend. But how far can this Canadian team go without those three?
Yeah, I think, look, it's certainly if they had those three players, you would be talking about them as favourites in this game, I think. I know people will say South Korea are quality sides. I'm maybe a bit lower on them than others if it is South Korea, as we expect tonight, that comes through. I think with those players, Canada is the better team right now. I truly believe that. Without them, maybe you give the edge to South Korea, so it does affect it. it was a weird approach today, I thought. You know, we put so much weight on this game and on the possibility of staying in Vancouver. We know what that would have meant if they'd been able to get one, potentially two more games at home in the knockout stage. And yet Stefan Eustáquio, who was fit enough to play a part, didn't start. Alphonso Davies, who you say was fit, now you're saying he wasn't at all in the first place, but he doesn't play. Moise Bombito, who got through 45 minutes against Qatar, and we really could have done with another big physical presence at centre-back against those two forwards of Switzerland's. He's not involved at all either, despite Jesse Marsh saying he thought about going to five at the back at half-time. It was almost as if, you know, maybe none of these guys are just in a good place right now. Maybe they're not fit. Maybe they can't play. But it felt like to me there was a bit of holding back and saying, if we do fall into second place, as is a possibility against a quality Switzerland team, we've got to turn around now in 4 days and play and go down to Los Angeles and be ready to play a very good team. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of those players are ready to start, are ready to play some part. But certainly it does, I think, tip the scales maybe to making Canada an underdog, that, you know, they're in the condition they're in.
Maybe the positive you look at it is it some way has created depth for Jesse Marsh. So if he does need to bring somebody like a Bombito Eustáquio off the bench like he did in other games, then maybe he can use that to his advantage. We will find out. We will see on Sunday. Thank you very much, Oliver Platt. Check out the next generation of Canadians at the CONCACAF U20 Championship. It all gets started July 24th. Canada plays their first match against Panama on July 26th. You can watch those games right here on One Soccer. We've got more coming up. I believe Wheeler's got to give his parlay of the day. We're going to take a look at some other groups. Yes, it looks like Canada could also be facing South Korea. A lot still to discuss when we return to Bet365 for the win on One Soccer.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now,
who won the most Canadian Classics?
It's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years. And we're still growing. Together.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
Canada are really pressing here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
It.
A player Mike bet on just missed an open net tap-in and got subbed off.
I could have scored that in jeans.
Mike doesn't know it yet, but thanks to Bet365's sub-on play-on,
the net was wide open.
His prop bet rolls over to the fresh leg sub coming on. So if the sub scores, Mike still wins.
False alarm, people. My bet's still good.
If your player gets subbed, your bet plays on.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Here's a look at Thursday's schedule. A lot of heavy hitters are going to be in action here. Let's get to TELUS, who is a proud partner with soccer organizations across Canada, helping to raise the game from grassroots to elite levels. Gareth, I'll begin with you. Who is your TELUS player to watch?
Frankie goes to Hollywood. Oh. Relax, don't do it.
Okay.
Actually, he's going to Kansas City. Frankie de Jong, the Dutch center mid, he sets the tone. He's the pacemaker for the Dutch. They could beat Tunisia, go on and win their group, which means that the Dutch would then be in position to face the winner of whoever Canada plays against in the round of 16. I love the player, the Barcelona man. He does everything in the midfield for them. The Netherlands have played really, really well. I think they've worked themselves into a position where I think they're among the favorites to go on and win this tournament. They're that good. De Jong is the best player of the bunch.
Yeah, you're so right about Frankie. He's tidy. But speaking about a tidy player right here, look at Jamal Musiala at 23 years old. Like, he is a technician in that midfield, creative player, but hasn't gotten off to the start that maybe the Germans, but also people around this World Cup that have reported. He probably just hasn't kicked off the same way or the way that people expected him to. But he was a joint top scorer for Germany in Euro 2024 and a bright young talent, and we watch him every week here at One Soccer because we have the Bundesliga, and he is just a difference maker, right? But he needs to be that for Germany because they have a real shot of going far, but players like this need to step up in a big way.
I wonder if Julian Nagelsmann is going to play him. That's the big question. They play Ecuador. They've already won the group. We'll see how much rotation there is. It's one of the many reasons why I'm going under 3 goals between Germany and Ecuador. Ecuador is the best XG, expected goals in that group, but they can't score. Like, they could play for like 3 days and score, but they're elite defensively. So under 3 goals, a little bit more juice. The traditional line is set at 2 3/4. I bumped it up to 3 at -154. Ivory Coast, 2 goals on the handicap against Curacao. Book it. Eli Room, the Curacao goalkeeper, made 15 saves. Against the Ivory Coast, you're just going to be punished. And this one's interesting. It's Paraguay and Australia in Group D. Both teams can ostensibly shake hands, and then both will qualify for the next round. Both would be on 4 points. So it might be one of those where a team scores early, a goal is scored back, and the game just peters out after that. Plus 125, that's a play. Put that all together, a juicy big old number, plus 735.
If there is one little trend I'm noticing when you've increased to 48 countries now competing, and maybe some aren't necessarily up to par. I was once told goalkeepers never make, yellow card. I was told goalkeepers never are a player of the match. It's usually a field player. But there have been so many goalkeepers who have been players of the match because they've been keeping their smaller teams in it. Yes.
Yeah, and the Cape Verde goalkeeper as well.
Exactly.
So fair play.
All right, so let's take a look at some of these games. If you're looking at Japan, Sweden, who would you be taking?
I like Japan. Sweden's coming off. The Netherlands beat them 5-1 after they put 5 past Tunisia in the first game. Japan's coming off a 4-0 victory. This Japanese team, if they finish runners-up in this group, it looks like as of right now where the scores are, they'll take on Brazil in the next round. That is a huge round of 32 clash. I don't think Brazil would fancy a game against Japan whatsoever. If Sweden goes on to beat them, then maybe they'll find themselves in that situation. But a consequential game here in Group F.
If it ends up being Japan against Brazil in round of 32, and what we know is the last World Cup, but every World Cup since I've watched Japan be in, these guys have legs. Like, when it goes into extra time, and when you see the players on their back, they're getting their legs. Like, these Japanese are like, we can go another 30, no problem. So with this team, they're also very technical. I do like
very
Japan.
Well coached.
Yeah.
Like, very well coached. This team, honestly, it's a team that can go deep in this tournament. Like, we'll see what the knockout round matchups potentially look like.
Who are you picking, Jordan, between Australia and Paraguay?
This one's going to be close based on what Wheel said as well. So, gentleman's handshake?
Yep. Well done.
Watch me a 4-3 thriller.
I'm
going Australia.
Okay, you're going Aussie.
This is the argument about this tournament, this 48-team tournament, the fact that it's head-to-head that's the decisive tiebreaker. So Turkey is in the group. They're already out, even though they could go up to 3 points, but they're playing for nothing. Yeah. If it was just the old-school way of doing things with goal differential, then other teams would be included in the mix to potentially finish 3rd place. This is the downside of this tournament. If both these teams finish on 4 points, they're both likely through to the next round. So that's why a draw is preferable for both these sides. Australia, a good defensive team anyways. We saw Paraguay, what they did in the second half, a man down against Turkey. They can kill off a game like no one's business. I think the draw is the way to go.
Well, we know Turkey is taking on United States, barring something very strange. They're going to finish top of the group. Christian Pulisic says he's good to go. So
I didn't want to talk about this.
We'll see if he's telling the truth.
Who's good to go? What's good to go? When is the good gonna go? I don't want to talk about it.
He said he is good to go. Jordan,
he probably makes sense.
Him?
There's going to be rotation for Mopo.
I'm actually upset.
He's saying that, not Pochettino. Alphonso Davies didn't. I think Pulisic will play a little bit. I think he's got to get on the field and show that he can play. But I think there'll be some rest and rotation for Pochettino and company. They've already won the group. Mexico went on to win their group. USA went on to win their group. And they could have a preferable draw as well. The United States and Mexico both find themselves in a really good spot right now. I'm envious.
All right, a lot of talk here. Obviously, Canada in action today, though. It was a 2-1 loss to Switzerland as they finished second in the group. So it looks like it's going to be South Korea. And I know we'll dive more into that matchup as well and how that will look for Canada. But that game will happen on Sunday as well. It will be in the United States. That 12th man, right, that the Canadians have used to their advantage. Although Christian Jack earlier in the show, brought up an interesting point about being, even if you're a co-host, and how things could have probably been scheduled in a way to keep you in your country.
They could have drawn the game and could have stayed.
Well, okay.
Just saying.
Promise David, the lone goal scorer.
It was a great goal.
It was.
We didn't talk about that enough.
Shout out to Saliba.
Great goal.
The Saliba.
Shout out to Saliba.
Both of them. Outstanding.
Either way, Canada is moving on to the knockout stage in the Men's World Cup for the first time in their history. Bet365 for the win. On behalf of Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, and everyone else here at One Soccer, I'm Andy Petrillo. See you later.